Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're uncovering this massive, totally invisible war that is literally happening right behind the drywall of everyday homes. I mean, we spend so much time obsessing over paint colors, picking out furniture and focusing on the surface level aesthetics, but we almost never stop to think about the complex, hidden anatomy that actually keeps our homes habitable in the first place. So to really understand how this all works, we're using Central Falls, Rhode Island as our ultimate infrastructure battleground. It's this densely populated city that's really famous for historic mill buildings and those iconic multifamily homes we call triple-deckers. And because of this incredibly old housing stock and its unique urban layout, it is just the absolute perfect case study to visualize these silent battles being fought inside century-old walls. Which brings us to Section 1, a century-old plumbing ecosystem. Right, so most of the homes in these historic neighborhoods were built way before 1940, and this creates a really unique, kind of fragile, aging ecosystem where history, geography, and climate all just violently collide. See, Central Falls sits right in the Blackstone River Valley, so think of these historic buildings as having an aging anatomy that's under constant, severe environmental and structural pressure. I mean, they're packed closely together, and they're sharing aging infrastructure that, frankly, was just never designed to support how much water we use today. That leads us straight into Section 2, 3 hidden household threats. Let's meet the villains, okay? We're up against 3 primary antagonists that are silently attacking this plumbing anatomy every single day. We've got Father Time, Mother Nature, and obsolete tech. These forces are basically waging a relentless hidden war against the home. You've got houses built almost a century ago trying to face off against freezing New England winters, the high water tables from the nearby Blackstone River, and the decaying reality of really old building materials. Now look at this, 20 degrees. That is the magic, or really the tragic number. When winter temperatures drop below 20 degrees, uninsulated pipes and crawl spaces and exterior walls just freeze and expand. But here's the truly insidious part, right? The catastrophic damage actually stays completely hidden. A burst pipe doesn't really flood the house until the spring thaw arrives, releasing thousands of gallons of water exactly when you least expect it. And then we have obsolete tech. A huge chunk of this era's housing relies on galvanized steel pipes installed well before 1960. It's exactly like hardened arteries in a human body. These outdated pipes slowly corrode from the inside out. They build up internal rust, which silently suffocates your home's water supply and creates these hidden pinhole leaks inside the walls. Over time, that can literally destroy the structural integrity of the entire house. Meanwhile, your water heater? Yeah, it's essentially a ticking time bomb. These units have a maximum functional lifespan of about 10 to 12 years. Once that internal tank corrosion hits critical mass, a failed unit can dump up to 50 gallons of scalding, rusty water directly into your basement in just a matter of minutes. And that is definitely not the indoor pool you were hoping for. But down in that very same basement, especially if you're in a low-lying area near the river, your sump pump is acting as the home's crucial immune system. It works non-stop, fighting off invasive groundwater and that spring snowmelt. Without this critical piece of machinery functioning flawlessly, you're looking at thousands of dollars in sudden flood damage, not to mention an absolute nightmare of mold remediation. All right, moving on to Section 3, recognizing the warning signs. So, how do you actually know if your home is under attack before disaster strikes? Well, you have to separate the symptom you're seeing from the actual disease happening behind the drywall. Take low water pressure, for example. It's not just an annoyance when you're trying to take a shower, it's a huge, critical warning sign of that internal pipe corrosion we just talked about. Hearing weird gurgling sounds in your toilets? That usually points to tree roots invading your old clay sewer pipes. And rusty water? That's your failing water heater basically sending out an SOS. Here we are at Section 4, the professional plumber's playbook. Look, when these hidden systems inevitably start to fail, the absolute most crucial factor is emergency response time, because water damage spreads so incredibly fast, soaking right into drywall, subfloors, and insulation. Time is everything. Professional plumbing contractors know this, which is why they prioritize arriving within 60 minutes. They have to get there to stop an active burst pipe or hazardous sewage backup before the home suffers totally irreversible structural damage. And to establish a permanent fix, these pros have to strip out the brittle, rust-prone iron and galvanized steel and replace it with New World tech. We're talking flexible, freeze-resistant PEX tubing, high-pressure Type L copper for the supply lines, and corrosion-resistant ABS or PVC for drains. This stuff is a total game changer. Not only do these materials last decades longer, but they easily meet the super strict standards of the International Plumbing Code. But to execute these massive upgrades efficiently, especially in something like a tight, shared triple-decker where a mistake on the third floor literally destroys the first floor, professionals have to rely on a strict three-step playbook. They always start with a thorough diagnostic assessment, then they move into expert execution using those modern materials without completely destroying finished walls, and they wrap it all up with rigorous pressure testing and cleanup. Which brings us to Section 5, the true cost of repair. Right, so what is the actual financial reality of undertaking these massive infrastructure upgrades? The price tag of maintaining your home's hidden anatomy isn't just some flat rate. It's heavily influenced by a few key things. First, the material you choose, like premium copper versus the more adaptable PEX. Second, how difficult it is to actually get to the plumbing. Snaking a new pipe through a 100-year-old multi-story building, it is incredibly complex. And finally, urgency. Waiting until a pipe bursts on a holiday weekend is going to carry a massive emergency dispatch premium. And beyond just base labor and materials, you've also got to budget an extra 15 to 20% for the unseen elements. Because when you're dealing with historic properties, you're inevitably going to hit mandatory city permit fees, the nightmare of fixing existing water damage and mold behind the walls, and you'll probably have to upgrade obsolete valves just to get the whole system up to modern code compliance. Now, this brings up a super critical piece of advice. I know a quick DIY fix you saw online might seem really tempting to save a few bucks, but the golden rule in older properties is that hidden complications require licensed professionals, period. A single botched connection on a high-pressure water line, that can cause catastrophic flooding, completely void your homeowner's insurance, and leave you with massive structural repair bills. Honestly, it's about protecting public health, safety, and your single largest financial investment. So as we wrap up this explainer, I'd love for you to just take a look around your own living space right now. Look past the fresh paint and the pictures on the wall and ask yourself, what silent battles are really being fought right behind your drywall? Is your hidden infrastructure quietly protecting you? Or is it a ticking time bomb just waiting for the next big winter freeze? It's a fascinating ecosystem, and understanding it really is the very first step in mastering your own home.